I can't stop fantasizing about sex. This is what a man said to me on a consultation the other day, and he was taken back by my reaction. I said to him, I know, I hear this from just about everybody that I talk to. So you might be surprised to find out that the majority of people have sexual fantasies, between 90 and 97%. That's what science shows. But only 3 to 6% of people are addicted or have compulsive sexual fantasies, fantasies that pop into their mind all the time and that they can't seem to push aside. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh, certified brain health coach and sex addiction recovery coach. So, if you struggle with sexual fantasy and if you feel like you can't stop fantasizing, that is a compulsion. There is a category in the World Health Organization's classification of diseases called compulsive sexual behavior disorder. We know that compulsive sexual behavior disorder, which I call hypersexuality, falls into three categories. Number one, sexual fantasy. Number two is sexual urges. And number three is sexual behaviors. So there's a very small percentage of people who fall into this category of being addicted to sexual fantasy. It's 42% of people who are in this hypersexual context then are addicted to fantasy. Ultimately, compulsive sexual fantasy is related to pornography consumption. So many times, what happens is if you've been consuming porn frequently, consistently, and especially with any level of intensity, that sexual fantasy that you're viewing and you're consuming then becomes internalized. You're able to go there in your mind without needing the screen or any external stimuli. So, the way one of my clients puts it is that if you put him in a room or if you put him and an alcoholic in the room, the alcoholic comes out sober, he comes out worse off because the fantasy has been internalized. So the problem with that is that the more you engage in sexual fantasy, the more you're desensitizing the reward center and the reward pathways in your brain. We know that dopamine dysfunction is at the core of a problem with sexual fantasy. So it works like this: the more you fantasize, the more dopamine you release into your system. Dopamine is the molecule of more, motivation, and pleasure. So, of course, it motivates you back for more pleasure where you found it. Unfortunately, that's in your mind with sexual fantasy. And we know that the vast majority of people who fall into the category of addicted to sexual fantasy, what happens is they're going there for mood regulation. It's not even about sex, it's about offsetting stress, anxiety, loneliness, sadness, and depression. So, what happens is those feelings come to you and they trigger you, and they might do it even subconsciously. You're working away, and before you know it, you have a sexual thought. That thought isn't really pulling you towards healthy sexuality, it's telling you, I need a break. I need to offset these feelings of stress and anxiety from my work. So we know that compulsive sexual fantasy is related to mood regulation, offsetting stress, offsetting boredom, sadness, depression, and loneliness. So now that you know it, there is a solution. Stay with me. I will share it with you in a brain hack strategy in just a minute. But I want to share with you what this desensitization does. When you desensitize the dopamine receptors in the reward center in the reward pathway, now you need more stimulation. So, what you'll find is you're fantasizing more, or you may have to ramp up the intensity of the fantasy. Other times, it leads to sexual urges and sexual acting out, the other two categories in hypersexuality. So, all of this kind of is wrapped up together. So, if you find yourself acting out in sexual ways, and that can even be consuming explicit matter in the form of social media or even short form media, even long form media, if you find yourself going to an external stimulus, it's for the dopamine. Dopamine and sexuality have been linked in hypersexuality, namely sexual fantasy. Now, this desensitization can lead to lack of focus, depression, and anxiety. The very feelings that you are going to sexual fantasy to reduce are increased by lingering in sexual fantasy. So there's mental and physical health effects because of being addicted to sexual fantasy. Mental, I just told you about, you're going to be shocked to find out what the physical effect is. It is sexual arousal dysfunction, SAD. Sexual fantasizing will make you sad. It can give you erectile dysfunction and delayed ejaculation, sexual arousal dysfunction. It's happening to millions of people all over the world. So, if you struggle with SAD and you linger in sexual fantasy, they are related. They're related. So, sexual fantasy is what's increasing mental and physical health issues. So, I already told you where the problem lies, the solution lies. If the problem is that sexual fantasy is desensitizing your brain, the solution is stop desensitizing, start resensitizing. The way that you can do that is either through technology. That's how I help people in my practice. You can check that out at drtrishleigh.com, or you stop desensitizing and you find healthy dopamine activities in your real life, the things that you like to do that bring you pleasure, that bring you joy. Now, I will tell you, if your brain has been wrapped up in hypersexuality, it can be difficult to unlink it from sexual fantasy and relink it back to your life. That's a role that me and my company play. We break the link to sexuality. We relink your brain to not only the pleasure, but the joy, the happiness, and the connection in your life. So, if you struggle with sexual fantasy, and especially if you struggle with SAD, sexual arousal dysfunction, please go over to drtrishleigh.com. There's lots of information there for you, and I would love to help you out. One first step that you can take is called a QEEG brain map. That is a way that I can visualize using advanced technology at home. I work with people all over the world. We can see how your brain is performing and if it's stuck in this hypersexual mode that is keeping those fantasies going. Once we see if your brain is using that dysfunctional brain pattern, then we know exactly what it needs to be able to improve the performance pattern and help you overcome sexual fantasy and get on purpose in your life. So please go over to drtrishleigh.com. I encourage you. And as always, control your brain or it'll control you.